It's Christmas time, which is a season that doesn't really need any explanation. So I won't give one. Instead, I'm going to list off 5 songs that are unlike the Andy Williams or Bing Crosby's or Brenda Lee's of yesteryear. Or for all you younger kids out there, Wham, Mariah Carey, Ariana Grande, Shakin' Stevens, Paul McCartney, John Lennon, Yoko Ono, The Pogues, Chris Rea, East 17, Spice Girls, Beach Boy, Elvis Presley, Kelly Clarkson, Justin Bieber, Elton John, Lab Baby, and the bitch who made the anti-autistic movie Music. Weirdness and chaos are 2 things that I can abide by and kind of have a fascination over. So it's kind of an honor that I'm able to do this at all, in quite possibly one of the most calming, celebratory, and, for some people, very stressful time of the year. So you may be asking, if I'm so fascinated over the thing, why isn't this a top 10 list? Because I'm procrastinating, and I have to put out a video in 5 days. And with 5 songs, 5 days, I can make this work. You know what, screw the intro, let's just get this over with so I could finally rest and spend some time with my family for the rest of the year. This is the top 5 strangest Christmas songs. Now, let it be known that I don't necessarily hate Nostalgia Critics Season 6 to 11. I actually think they were pretty okay. Sure, there are episodes that kinda go downhill as it goes on, despite having a great start, or episodes that I just never liked to begin with. But most of these episodes I could consider as my all-time favorites. I mean, I hail the Rubber Review as an all-time classic. You gotta give me points for that. The only reason I don't revisit these 6 seasons as much as I do with seasons 1 to 5 is that most of it could be pretty bland and not really worth talking about. Except for this. Now, this song isn't very strange instrumentally, although I will admit that a heavy metal Christmas song is definitely something that I've never heard before. But the reason why it's on the list is because of the context behind it and the episode itself. You see, this bizarre mix between heavy metal and a Tim Burton art style comes from his review of the 1996 movie Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. Yeah, I've already tried to find the connection here, it's kind of impossible. And you know what's the weirdest part of this whole thing? Is that the rest of the review is pretty tame compared to this. With the exception of that final scene, most of it is pretty normal, if I do say so myself. It's like comparing the Thundercats and Beetlejuice cartoons to the show itself, but backwards! How is that possible? Yeah, most of this episode is pretty normal, all things considered, but the whole episode is about containing Doug's love for Christmas, and the episode just so happens to end with a containment being breached and all hell breaking loose. A good setup with a decent punchline, but you didn't need to go this over the top! As for the sequence itself, it's pretty alright. I like most of the hand-drawn stuff. The Rankin Bass reference was pretty neat. And hey, Rob Scallon. That's always nice to see around the holidays. Overall, pretty inventive, but still, just why?
Boy, that did feel good.
I know that this next song has nothing to do with Christmas, and Christmas is never mentioned, but I have a certain feeling that because of Stranger Things Volume 4 launching this particular artist back into popularity, this will probably be the last time I mention this record normally, so I feel like it is fair to give this album the proper send-off. Kate Bush's 50 Words for Snow is quite possibly the most haunting album I have ever heard. It's a very melancholy album picturing a dreamlike snowy state that'll send chills down your spine with stories of a yeti disguising the footprints of itself to prevent others from hunting him, Kate's son performing as a snowflake falling to the ground in a Christmas play, a kinda sorta sequel to Running Up That Hill with Elton John, Kate herself having a one-night stand with a snowman, all that good stuff. Okay, sorry, what was that last one? You honestly don't need to rewind the video, since I'll just say it again. This song is about the narrator having sex with a snowman named Misty. No relation to the Pokemon character, of course, which is honestly kind of a disappointment, but that doesn't excuse how awkward and bizarre this concept is. It's seductive, melancholy, oddly jazzy, and the song ends with the narrator committing suicide shortly after Misty melts away. Pretty grim way to end a song, but I've heard worse. Sure, it's bizarre, uncomfortable, and kind of impossible to achieve considering the subject matter. How do you even? But I gotta say, it's one of the best songs Kid has ever written. The instrumentation is fantastic, and the lyrics are solemn and seductive, yet whimsical in their own right. It's brilliantly written, hilariously deadpan, emotionally touching, in more ways than one. And finally, it's 13 minutes long. And who am I to take that away from an album containing an 8-minute song of Stephen Fry describing the many ways of describing snow? I see what you did there.
And dawn will come soon.
Of course, a single list of the strangest songs wouldn't be complete without the auteur of bizarre music himself, Wesley Willis. Widely considered as the daddy of rock and roll, Willis has gained quite the reputation and cult status for making music that's definitely unlike anything anyone's ever heard before. His songs cover a wide variety of topics, with consumerism and mental illness being the most prominent, and... Okay, brief explanation over.
Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas!
Now I know what you're all going to say. Really? That's it? A spoken word speech on why Christmas is such a wonderful holiday with a Technos KN synth piano playing on the demo function in the background? As a matter of fact, yes. Yes, it is. And it's one of the many examples on why Willis is truly a one-of-a-kind artist. But it also makes it extremely difficult to talk about due to its simplicity, so I won't go into too much detail. But this song, as well as his music career as a whole, is definitely admirable. And after all he's been through during his childhood, which is so dark and depressing, I honestly don't want to talk about it. The attention and cult status he got is more than deserved. The brutal honesty of his lyrics, the overall enjoyment of him making his own music, and I've never met him personally since he died 2 years before I was even born, but from what I've heard from other people, he was the kindest and sweetest soul you will ever meet in your whole life. The only reason Merry Christmas is even in the middle portion of the list at all is because of how phenomenal of an act he is. In fact, he is so phenomenal, it would be a disservice to put him any higher on the list. If your most remembered song ends up in Super Size Me, you know that you've done something right. Rock Over London, Rock on Chicago, hats off to you, Wesley Willis, all the way to the end.
Rock over London, rock on Los Angeles, all state, you're in good hands.
Alright. To start, how am I supposed to describe this? I'm sure you all know what this song, The Little Drummer Boy, is. It's a cute, catchy melody about a boy who gave Jesus the gift of music. That's all it is. It's a nice little ditty you sing at Christmas. And I'm sure you all know who Christopher Lee is. He's kind of like a younger and more badass Vincent Price, starring in a ton of Hammer horror films and a bunch of fantasy films directed by Tim Burton and Peter Jackson. He was also on the album cover of Paul McCartney and Wings' Band on the Run. Fun fact. Now, before I play a clip of this particular song that's at number 1 on this list, I want you to take a second and imagine in your head what Christopher Lee singing The Little Drummer Boy would sound like. Based on the descriptions I gave for both the song and the person who sung it,
just form a mental image in your head on what it sounds like. Maybe leave a comment describing what it sounds like. Okay? Cool. Here's what it sounds like.
They told me,
Yep, your ears do not deceive you. That is, in fact, Saruman the White performing a metal rendition of the Little Drummer Boy. I mean, what else do I have to say but... What? What's next? The Flash version of the infamous Lollipop line from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
lollipops.
Unlike every other song here, The Little Drummer Boy doesn't make this list because of its strange concept or the way they decide to record it. It's just a cover of a traditional Christmas song done in the most unlikely way.
What else do I even need to say? It's a metal Christmas song done by Count Dooku of all people. What a way to end a Christmas. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all soon. I'm gonna collapse. Ow.